Hey ladies and gentlemen, this is HD. Welcome back. It's time to start the third place matchup in the HD World Tournament. This is one of the finalist matchups. As you guys all know, it is going to be a Protoss versus Zerg, and it is going to be between Socke and Sen, which means it's going to be a Protoss versus Zerg matchup. And I cannot wait to get this series underway. This is going to be a best of 5 matchup similar to the semifinals, and the winner will be awarded third place prize money, which is $250 USD. The loser gets absolutely zilched. He gets nothing in his pockets and walks away with basically playing for this entire tournament and not getting a dime out of it. So you can bet that these two players are going to be fighting their absolute hardest. $250 is a nice little lump sum you can pocket, and then you can, go buy yourself a nice new Xbox or buy yourself something good for your computer. And I think these two players are going to give us quite a show today. First map is going to be on Crevasse, as you guys can see. Very big map. I've talked about this map before. Has a natural expansion right here for both players, which is quite covered and safe. It's very much insulated inside the main. There is the one thing that it only has one rich Vespene geyser, which gets a little bit more gas than the standard geyser does, and the nice trade-off is you only have to put 3 harvesters on it. The other features that you might want to know about this map is that there is a ramp here which is blocked off, half of it blocked off by these destructible rocks. And this is something that Protoss players will make use of in the early game. They like the narrow choke point, but eventually Zerg players can break down these rocks and then apply a lot of pressure, and that's when the Protoss has to deal with a much larger ramp, and they kind of have to figure out what they're going to do about their buildings and figure out a way to block off the rest of that ramp. So pretty cool feature regarding that. And also there are some rocks at the center of the map as well. I'm trying to look for those rocks. There they are. There's the other rocks that actually lead into the third base right here. As you guys can see, normally there is one natural path leading into the third. Same situation here for the Zerg. This is his ramp, and then here are the destructible rocks which lead right into the third as well. So this map does have a lot of cool features regarding those rocks. I think this is one of those maps that players will often kind of deform the terrain in order to best suit their playstyle or best suit their strategy and tactics into the mid to late game. And a lot of times you'll see Zerg players actually favor destroying all the rocks on the map so that they can get better flanking positions, better routes to attack the Protoss ball towards the late game. And we'll see if that's what Sen decides to do. Do note, both these players have climbed very far in this tournament to get to where they are. Both of them obviously losing in the semifinals, but that's not to take away from their accomplishments. They're both extremely well talented. Socke playing from Europe, Sen playing from Taiwan. And here comes Sen, first Zergling, gonna run inside the main, and it's not gonna get in. Nice little block by the Zealot, which is gonna prevent that scouting for the Zerg player Sen, and Sen now pretty much operating blind, although he did see the second gateway. So with that second gateway, he might be tipped off as to what the Protoss player is doing. Stalker here in the middle of the map, also gonna pick off a Zergling, and this is really annoying as a Zerg player. If you've got your Zerglings at the Xel'Naga watchtowers, keep in mind there are 4 on this map. A lone Stalker, basically this lone ranger, can go out and pick off every single Zergling and really deny that scouting that the Zerg player needs and the control of the center of the map. And even that Stalker is going to start to hit this hatchery as well. I think Sen should be just fine though. He has 6 Zerglings on the way, and those 6 Zerglings should be able to dispatch of this Stalker quite easily. We'll see what happens. Here comes the Zerglings, and Socke immediately going to start to get on the micro, and he should be able to pull this Stalker away without losing it. And as long as he keeps it running, then he shouldn't lose to the Zerglings, as long as the Zerglings don't have speed, which, as you guys can see, still a very long way from finishing. And Sen just going to be content to keep that Stalker at bay. Meanwhile, we have more drones being constructed for Sen, and I think, guys, Sen is going to... Wow, he's got a lot of Zerglings here. Presumably building, maybe, I feel like he built maybe a couple bit too many in terms of Zerglings. Perhaps he was overreacting to that single Stalker, thinking that it might have been a 2-gate Stalker harass, which it did kind of look like to me for a moment there. As you guys can see, Socke did have 2 warp gates, and a popular strategy is basically saving up all your chrono boost and chrono boosting 4 stalkers out and attacking. And I think that's why Sen has so many Zerglings out right now, but these Zerglings really aren't going to be able to do much except for control the center of the map. Here comes Sen right now, and I think the stalker will not be able to make it out of the way. It's not going to be able to get home, and oh man, that stalker is going to go down. Zerglings actually have a shot here, maybe doing some damage to those sentries or running right into the main, but Socke immediately falling back into his little choke right here and playing it safe, which I do agree with. Now here's the situation that Socke does have to be careful about, is these rocks. With enough Zerglings, you actually can kind of hit the rocks from this little corner right here and dwindle them down. And that's a situation the Protoss player really doesn't want to allow happen. Oh man, lots of warp gates starting to be constructed by Socke though. Socke, keep in mind, also has his natural expansion up, so he did go for a pretty quick natural here. Looks like he's gearing up to play a pretty long-term macro game, which is what you expect to see on a map like Crevasse. And I think he's going to stick to his guns on the ground. That's indicated by the fact that he's got so many gateways being constructed right now. Sen also getting a third inside his base. So he is getting the safer third expansion, or safer hatchery at the third, rather than the other way around. And here we go. We have the sentries starting to move out a little bit. But Sen is not going to engage. He is going to fall back for now. And both players really going into a pretty long-term mindset right here. I think neither player really wants to... Oh, we have a little force field here, I guess, to prevent a Zergling from running in. I guess neither player really wants to commit to any early aggression or any kind of a one-base cheesy style build. They both want to play very long macro style. They want to get as many bases as possible. Sen now feeling comfortable enough to push out with his primarily sentry army, so he can grab the third expansion now. And oh, here we go, we have some Zerglings running in, but no, not enough Zerglings to take out this many sentries. And remember guys, sentries do have considerable firepower packed up inside their little bodies, and they can do some pretty good damage even to Zerglings. And that's not even considering the force field support that they do have. But Socke needs to be careful though, because at any moment he could be facing a ton of Zerglings, and he really doesn't have that much of an army. He just has about 8 sentries, a stalker, and a zealot. And it does look like we're having a transition into roaches by Sen. So Sen here maybe going for, it looks like he's going for speed, only getting the upgrade for melee here, which kind of surprises me. I guess I'm not sure why I guess he decided to go for melee weapons originally because he was going to go for mass speedlings, and now he's switching into roaches, and he has proceeded to cancel all of his spine crawlers. And I think the reason for that is he's realized that the Protoss player is not going for any kind of a 6-gate attack. It is going to be basically a 3-base strategy here, and we're not going to see Socke move out anytime soon. Socke is going to be very content to just stay planted and stay in control of his side of the map, and he's just gonna basically allow himself to continue to bulk up his army, bulk up his economy, and he is not going to push out until he is maxed. He's currently at 95, and you know, he doesn't really, there's no reason for him to push out right now. On 3 bases, a Protoss player is a formidable threat, and I think that's the reason why Sen saw that, and he decided to cancel all his spine crawlers, and he is now actually opting to get his 4th base up. So very high macro game here as we approach the late game. And I don't think either player is going to commit to an attack. I think Sen is going to be very content himself to just go to the 4th and to the 5th base very quickly. Also getting some spores and spines, which I condone. Spores and Spines are a great defense against late game Dark Templar. We also have a Baneling's Nest coming up, which is kind of interesting. Might see a little bit of Baneling tricky play from the Zerg player Sen here, which would be very interesting. Baneling's not used that often in Zerg versus Protoss. Interestingly, Sen has not decided to destroy these rocks yet, which I thought for sure by now Sen would have done. Remember, these rocks lead to an alternative route into the Protoss side of the map, and you know, Sen has decided not to destroy those rocks yet. I think that's kind of a mistake by him. Maybe he's gonna do it pretty soon though, and he's gonna get that zealot right there. He's not gonna be able to get away. And no, Sen is just gonna control the center of the map for now with his majority comprised army of roaches and Zerglings. He does have 164 supply. He does have more economy, and likewise, Socke is just getting a very large army of Stalkers to complement his already large army of Sentries. He also has an Immortal out as well, and this army is pretty well equipped to deal with Roaches and Zerglings, in my opinion. Could use a couple more Zealots, but with the Force Field support, I think that the Zerglings should be held off pretty easily. Ooh, look at this. We do have Overlord drop, and that is why we have Banelings coming out. So Sen is going to try to drop off some Banelings into the Protoss main, and does Socke realize that there are Banelings being made? Does he even realize that Overlord drop is completed? It is going to be a dual drop by Sen here, and Sen is going to get really tricky as Socke moves down to grab the 4th base. Socke thinking he's playing a standard macro game. He's thinking that the Zerg player is doing the same as well, but little does he know that there are some Banelings coming from the sky. They are loaded up in these blimps, and I think Sen is just waiting to time out these Overlords so that they both go in at the same exact time. I'm absolutely sure that's the case here. Though there is a Dark Shrine on the way right now. Protoss army also pushing in, and I think Sen is going to make use of this push. While the Protoss is pushing, he's going to move in with his Overlords. I would be very surprised if he doesn't. Note he has more Overlords with Banelings loaded up right here. The nice thing about those Overlords is they provide distraction, they just provide cover fire, as well as being able to drop Banelings, and here comes the Banelings! All the probes getting pulled away, though. Brilliant play by Socke. He was very aware. At the same time, though, he is in danger of losing all of his Sentries and his Immortals, and oh my god, his entire Immortal and Sentry army getting absolutely crushed. Banelings dropping onto Stalkers, not the most effective, but they are going to do some damage nevertheless, and the Banelings have actually been deposited inside the the natural expansion of Socke. So interesting play by Sen. He's just going to leave those Banelings there, which basically means no mining whatsoever. Actually, oh wow, very smart play right there by Socke, using his pylons to warp in, I believe, Zealots. That would be the most cost-efficient unit, just so the Banelings would sacrifice themselves, and Sen decides to pull away whatever Banelings he has remaining. What an intense couple moments we had right there, and that right there is key for Zerg players. You want to use your multi-pronged attacks. You want to use these strategies that you've got cooked up behind your sleeve at the same time that your opponent is attacking you. That's when he is least likely to be paying attention to his economy line. But Socke is showing that he is quite a superior Protoss player, and noticing he's basically got tabs everywhere. He knows that there's Banelings coming in, and he is not going to lose any Harvesters. And as you guys can see, his Harvester count been healthy this entire game. Banelings once again dropping down, not doing that much damage, and the Overlord even dying as a result. Great play so far by both these players. And now we have the Dark Templar starting to move out and about, but this is where those Spores and Spines are going to come in so handy. This expansion right here is going to be pretty much safe. Uh-oh, though, this one is pretty much wide open, and this Dark Templar may get a killing spree here. It has 2 kills, 3rd kill, killing spree, 4th kill, 5th kill, domination, 6th kill, 7th kill. Oh, it's not going to get the 7th. Oh, it's going to get the 7th kill. I don't play enough Quake, so I don't really know what the 7th kill is counted as, but it is on kill domination, and it finally dies at around 8 kills. But that was definitely well worth it for Socke. And now that Harvester tab has pretty much evened out, and on top of that, we have a Stargate coming out, double Stargate coming out. So we are going to be seeing some Void Ray action towards the late game, but nonetheless, Sen is able to end the game right here. He's got a massive army of Roaches and Banelings, dropping off more Banelings over the Protoss ball, and he is absolutely devastating everything on the ground. Socke has lost all of his Colossus and all of his Stalkers, and in fact, the 4th base here could very well go down. Same time, Drone's going to resaturate a new expansion, and oh man, if Socke loses this Nexus, this is going to be devastating. 1 pylon left to power in reinforcements, a Colossus, and more Stalkers coming in, and I think Socke should be able to keep this Nexus alive. It's going to be really close, but as long as he keeps the Nexus alive, then he's in good shape to go on to the uber late game, and yes, you should be able to do it. He has an Observer, but oh man, reinforcements coming in, more Zerglings and Roaches, and that is it for the Nexus. A quick sniper loaded fire by all the Roaches and all the Zerglings, auto-targeting the Nexus to take it out, and that was a devastating blow to Socke's economy. Socke now, he is at 59 Harvesters, under 73. He is not looking too good right now, ladies and gentlemen. His army is at 110, under 190, which is even worse in terms of just ratios in the game that you have to keep track of. That is one of the most devastating ratios when you have half the army supply of your opponent, and he is going to rely on his Dark Templar here to try to even out the odds. But man, Zen is already on top of this. He's got spores and spines at every location. The Dark Templar are not going to be able to do any damage whatsoever. Maybe they'll be able to snipe out a hatchery, but I doubt it. And here comes the Dark Templar once again, but a Dark Templar versus a Spine Crawler along with drone support. Not gonna happen today. And wow, Sen is just looking great right here. He's got Corruptors starting to come out right now. And one thing I was trying to pay attention to was Zock's transition into these Void Rays, and this is smart. Towards the late game, Protoss players do want to get that Void Ray Colossus Death Ball going, but I feel like Zock's economy may have been hit too hard, and he really needed this 4th base up in order to fund the gas he needs to get his Colossus out, and along with those Void Rays. And really, he just doesn't have that many Void Rays on the map right now, only 2. So I think that this first game may possibly go to Sen, short of a miracle. Look at this big ball of Zerg units and 2-1 upgrades on the ground. The air actually even has upgrades of their own with 1 weapons. And here it comes. The Roaches actually getting halved by the force fields, and the Colossus in the back doing some good damage. But those Corruptors, man, they are just whittling away the Colossus. And where are the Void Rays? They're just sitting in the back. I think Zock may have realized that this is pretty much a lost cause. Warping in more Stalkers, but this Nexus is in danger of going down. Couple of Void Rays here may be enough. No, not with the Corruptors coming in from the back. And that has almost certainly got to be GG here. I do not see Zock recovering from this, as his Nexus is starting to lose its shields. Probes have decided to run for high ground and run for cover as the Zerg continues to flood in. A divulge of Speedlings coming in here to pick off the Nexus, and I think that is going to be all she wrote. Our Zerg player Sen operating on 6 bases, guys. He has just got so much economy rolling in right now. He's got 2,000 minerals per minute, 700 gas, whereas the Protoss really has half that much and has half the amount of harvesters about. And we now have Archons being made, which, you know, Archons are not going to really do much whatsoever against this kind of a deadly Zerg army. 175 to 87, and things are definitely not looking too good right now. One thing though that Zock has going for him is this game he's got +3 weapons. The entire game actually he's been really on top of his upgrades, and that's nice. But unfortunately, he's even trying some Warp Prism tactics here, but even that has been spotted by the Zerg player. And yeah, Zock finally realizing that it is pretty much all but over, and he decides to GG out of this game. So 1 victory for Sen as he moves on to game number 2 between Socke, and this is once again the HD World Tournament 3rd place. Winner of this entire series gets $250. So stay tuned, guys. The second game in this best of 5 series is coming up next.